The first time I hit 2K on Voobly was because I beat running 9 times in a row
Wait, you got 2K at
on
Voobly?
Voobly. Yeah.
Apparently 2K.
I'm looking at my profile now, and it says I was 1900, which feels false.
Maybe what you're saying is false.
This guy is so hungry for content. Apparently, he still goes to Voobly just to cast Fatslob games.
Well, that's understandable.
Yeah, I love it. It's just like true love for the content. That's great.
He's played one game in 2024, so he's slowing down these days.
Was it Vikings on Black Forest?
Actually, the crazy thing is he actually played Turks.
What?
Wow.
It was like mind-blowing to me. Yeah.
He's moved on.
That's why he quit. He realized.
But he did play Vikings in the other games, so.
Hey, okay. I'm old enough to remember Fatslob beating Viper. Just want to put that into...
Oh, I remember exactly where I was when that happened. Oh my god.
Wow, you remember where you were.
I was on the treadmill at the gym, bro, and I was getting like texts like, hey, Viper's playing Fatslob finally, because it was a couple months after. Actually, I remember Viper telling you in person about it at the Brighton meetup in London. And you were like, that sounds stupid. Like, you're like, I was like, what's so funny about that? And then it became a meme and everyone was begging you, and then you played, and then I think it went out of sync or something.
No, it was. I remember exactly how it happened. Yeah. So both players walled their asses up, like crazy, and then Viper wanted to mass delete walls, and on Voobly, apparently the game couldn't handle it or whatever. And as he clicked delete to delete, I don't know, like 100 pieces of wall or whatever, the game crashes.
I don't think it was wall. I think it was mass deleting Wills to get like 200 military.
I'm almost sure it was walls because he wanted to push. You both walled up, and of course Fatslob walls, but
I don't think I did mass walls. I think I wanted to mass delete Wills, and the game crashed when I was doing that.
And then you go, can we save and restore? He goes,
no,
he goes, nice try.
The game was saved automatically, right? But
true.
I re-entered his lobby and asked if we could restore because I wanted to finish my masterpiece. And he was like, "No, we go with you. If I wanted to play, I had to go with you."
I remember he said something like, "You did pretty good. You did pretty good."
He said, "You did good though. You did good though."
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, the memories. That's great. All right, hello there, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Majmora.
And I'm the Viper.
And this is episode 27 of the Town Center, your podcast dedicated to all things Age of Empires in today's show. And that's all she said about the Titans League Season 4. A lot has been said and written about this tournament in the last few days, but today we'll have the opportunity to bring it all to the tournament organizer himself, as Tristan once more graces the Town Center with his presence. Then, as per usual, once a big tournament finishes, the next one is announced. This time it was Mem's turn to announce his tournament for the 2024-25 season, and it will be Warlords 4. If you enjoy our show, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and if you prefer to listen to us on Spotify, you can do so, but only after you've rated us 5 stars. Tristan, my friend, always a pleasure to have you here with us. Thank you so much for taking the time, and I apologize for Viper's scheduling problems, shall I say.
It's all good. I said before you got here, Viper, you built up enough goodwill with me over the last decade that I'll let it slide. So
it was 5 minutes. I guess we rescheduled the time first.
2 hours and 5 minutes.
Yeah, but okay, fair enough.
Oh, 2 hours, 5 minutes, all the same thing, Tristan.
Yeah. But listen, my schedule is somewhat determined as well by another creature at the moment. So
yeah, makes sense.
I blame that a little bit as well.
That's the baby card. It's the baby card when you don't perform.
Man. Everything I do, I just like, baby, this, baby, that. I'm late. Oh, baby. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's when you don't perform. It's when you're late. Perfect.
What else do you have a baby for?
Truth. What else? What else? So true. All right, Tristan, of course, Titans League, bro. We want to talk about the Titans League, and of course, we're going to talk in detail, and we're going to discuss the specifics and all the aspects of it. But before we get to the more nitty gritty, why don't you just give us a rough impression, your first thoughts on the whole thing? Are you happy?
Yeah, it was a crazy event. And so there's a lot to dive into, but I'm really happy with how it went. And the beauty of TTL for me is the effect it has on like the wider player base. That combined with the fact that who wins the tournament isn't the only highlight. Obviously, that's the big buildup, but there was so much fun in the middle of each group, the relegation stories, the survival stories, and then in gold, like the promotion stories. And that's before you even go all the way back to silver and how people were grinding in that bracket to get into gold. So the silver bracket was essentially just a qualifier for gold. And let me tell you, it was an absolute sweat and grind fest for people to get into gold. It was so cool. I guarantee you that like over 10 players played over 100 games. Guarantee you. Because SizCon and Lewis both said they played over 100 games. And then they eventually got promoted to platinum. And it was just so cool. Like Viper mentioned ladder activity for the top guys. Holy crap. In the 2 weeks leading up towards the ladder seeding, I'd never seen the ladder more sweaty. Like you had some people force picking, you had lames, like people were intense. And then just to give you an idea of like how much that category of player cares, after like the first 2 rounds, at that point, there were some upsets and I'd queue unranked and I'd play up against somebody who I knew just lost. And I'd say like, tough luck in TTL. 4 separate players. I did that too. Pause, 15-minute conversation in a ranked game about everything, right?
Cool.
And then like later on follow-ups from people who are just like, holy crap, like when's the next one? Like I'm going to get him this time. Like that's so cool. That's really where my heart's at with this, because you got people who want that opportunity. And was very involved in it. I was playing practice sets with people who were trying to make it to gold. I was watching recorded games of sneaky strategies of people in gold and in platinum. Like I was casting all day, and I was also very much like as involved and nerdy about it as I could be. So it was like full on Titans League, but it was sick. It was really fun.
They did you dirty with the semifinals and the finals, man. It's like worst case scenario for a tournament organizer, right? Were you pissed? I mean, you can't do anything about it. Nobody can, but
well, so I think it's my fault actually, because Friday night I told my fiance that I had been so happy with how the rest of the tournament had gone that if it was a shitty weekend, I could never feel bad about the event.
Rookie
and
mistake.
Then it was 4-0, 4-0, 4-0. And that was true, actually. Afterwards, I still felt really happy with everything. Maybe it's because I've just done so many events now and hit so many goals. But yeah, obviously, it was a disappointing conclusion from a like competitive standpoint, and it doesn't help viewership. You know, people don't exactly get hyped about sweeps, but that's competition. You know, you can't. That happens sometimes, and it is what it is. You know.
Mm-hmm. Oregon, did you see Tristan's embarrassing video?
I am afraid I did not. What was it?
Listen, I wanted to see it, but you know, with Tristan, there's always like 30 minutes of a preamble. It
was important.
He needs to set up the whole thing, and at some point, like, well, when is this going to start? But I did see it. And it was pretty embarrassing. So you didn't lie, Tristan. You didn't lie. I'll give you that. Well, you explain it, Tristan. Oh, wait, no. Let me explain it. Otherwise, it's going to hold up for like...
That's a good
No, go ahead. I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, the TLDR, the whole story is important, Nelson, so how dare you? The TLDR is I was quite drunk at a baseball game, and when we were walking into the stadium, the event coordinator, who will do like in-between inning stuff, usually it's with kids or something, and it's a guessing game, they saw me sticking out like a sore thumb with my friends, and they said, hey, we want you. And I said no, and then all my friends were like, they forced me to, basically. And then we had to do Dizzy Bat. Are you familiar with Dizzy Bat?
I would guess it's something where you spin around with the bat or something?
Exactly.
That's
you put your head on the end of a bat and you spin. First spin, my shoe flew off. I was visibly very, very... I was not having a good time. The players in the bench were laughing at me, like the baseball players were laughing at me. And then I ran. I never let go of the bat for some reason, and I collapsed off the side. And it was
all on camera. You know what my favorite part was, Oregon? After all of this, you can hear Tristan's fiance. That's the man I love. I really love it. It's my favorite part of the whole thing.
That was pretty epic. Yeah.
Sounds fun. Is it on YouTube or something? Or do you have to like check the VOD to see the video?
It'll go to YouTube eventually, and it's on the VOD. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can see it. I felt the background was important because I didn't want to come off too unathletic. You know, I wanted to explain why I fell so badly.
Yeah, I was afraid you're going to start a lot further back, so I'm happy you didn't start all that back.
There we
go. Tristan, before I forget, why no Hidden Cup this year?
Why no Hidden Cup this year?
I don't know if you've talked about this before. I haven't heard you talk about it. So,
well, Man, well, first off, you blindsided me with that one because that wasn't on the run of show for today.
I'm pretty sure it was. Wait. Oh, not on yours. Sorry. Yeah, we have
On
one for
our
you. We
side.
have one for our side. I'm
What
sorry.
type of show are you guys running here? My
No, we have a
goodness.
secret. We have a secret list of topics.
I mean, it's multiple factors. First off, the obvious one is like if I do, there's only so much time, like T90 time in the calendar, right? So that's something I have to be aware of, and that Microsoft's aware of too. But honestly, a main thing is I'm not motivated to do another Hidden Cup, at least not now. I obviously would probably be very, very successful, and I think everyone listening would be excited for that. So, but I need to be 100% ready to do anything and dive into it. And so if I don't feel like it's time for something, I'm not going to force it. And right now, I'm not really in a big Hidden Cup state of mind. So that's basically your answer, as unsatisfying as that might sound.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to push you if you're not going to give me more, but yeah, it sounds like there has to be something. Or can you talk about what would be the factors that would motivate you? Because I mean, when everything is said and done, last Hidden Cup was a major success in terms of viewership as well. I know, of course, the final was not what you were expecting, obviously.
Well, I mean, TTL was a sweep as well. That's so that's not a main factor. I mean, yeah, there are some things behind the scenes that I won't get into publicly, but there was just certain aspects of running the event which are very difficult. But the other thing is, I feel like there's got to be like what made. So there were two reasons for the gap between Hidden Cup 4 and 5. First one, obviously, is I went to Facebook, and everyone was like, T90 is not going to do a Hidden Cup on Facebook. And I recognize it's easy to say this, but I wouldn't have done a Hidden Cup the first year on Facebook anyway, if I had not gone to Facebook, because I felt like the scene and like the way our player base was set up wouldn't have given a good Hidden Cup. But then a year later, I was starting to get that itch to do it. I was coming back from Facebook, and then we had actual like new names I could introduce to people that were performing really well, like Mihai, Sebastian, and there had been some development with some of the other big names too. So yeah, I think like we're at an interesting point where there's new talents, which we could talk about with TTL, that are starting to make a name for themselves that could break in and like give Hidden Cup a fresh feel instead of just the same old players so soon after. I think that's kind of a bigger part of it. But yeah, again, like for me, everything's got to click 100% from like the player interest, from like the fan interest to like my motivations. And I'm not there right now, and I'm kind of focused on other things.
I think that's a very good explanation. If that's your major explanation, that's cool, because you feel like it would be the same names over and over again, and you're waiting a little bit longer till potentially some new people come around.
It's part of it. Yeah, I mean, It's not, I don't think we're going to see a big changeover at the top anytime soon, but it was really refreshing in the previous one, at least, to be able to show people like, hey, this is what Mihai and Sebastian are doing. This is what someone like Ganji can do, and that wouldn't have been a conversation a year prior, in my opinion. But that's part of it. But yeah, sorry to be vague, but I just basically got to be all in anything I do. And if I'm not, vague. I'm not going to force it. So
I think it was very specific, no?
Oh, okay.
It wasn't vague.
All right, that's good then.
Yeah, so let's get into the specifics of Titans League. And of course, the positives of the Titans League is not even worth talking about because everybody knows what they are. You've talked about this. I've seen a lot of positive posts on Reddit. I'm so thankful to Tristan. I've never seen this player play, that player play. So that's, low-hanging fruit. Let's not go there. Let's go into the more juicy stuff. And one of the critics that I've seen the most thrown around Tristan was that the tournament was too long. And actually, Orion, why don't you say directly to Tristan what you had for a problem directly to his face in terms of the length, because I believe it's something that it's very specific to you as a streamer and to you as a player.
I think for us players that are also streamers, feels very long, right? Because this time it was, I'm not sure how many weeks it was in total for players, maybe
seven.
But there was also like a break weekend in there with a qualifier. Yeah. But as a streamer, obviously, Titans League have set timeframes for each round where it's streamed, right? So the prime time of sometimes Thursday as well, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday were usually taken, right? So that also means their activity on the ladder is a lot less, and that's hurtful for motivation both to stream and also to queue up on the ladder, right? So that's obviously as a streaming player, that's negative for me. But also as a player on paper, it's hard to stay in shape for that amount of time. But at the same time, that's how leagues work, right? They should last over time when it's a league, and that's also one of the qualities you need to have to be successful in a league, to be in shape over time. Mm-hmm. But compared to other tournaments, obviously we have other tournaments with qualifiers where they also feel quite long at times. But personally, I just feel like maybe if the tournament was like 2 weeks shorter, maybe that would help a lot. But at the same time, the tournament is such a good thing for the scene overall, for the players from the top all the way through down to the aspiring pros. So it's like, I cannot expect the tournament to be built around my needs and wishes as a streaming player, right? But that's just my opinion. But I'm sure most people that don't stream and play are still very happy with how it is.
I mean, I totally get that. As well as a streamer, obviously, I don't like play and stream, but I get that aspect. I have some suggestions. I think for streaming, the games were always available to cast. Always, I think people would love to hear Hera Viper insights. I didn't reach out because I didn't see there was a lot of interest from big names, but like that's an idea if you want to do primetime.
We want to play, not cast.
Sure, okay.
It's the reason you cast and we play.
Yeah,
we like to play.
That's fair. No, I get it. I know, because you want to do, back to what we said earlier, like what you're actually interested in. You don't want to feel like it's forced, you know. Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point. You know, I think the length is tricky. It was something that we widely discussed. I could pretty much tell you that if we didn't have the time frame that we did, we would have had 1 or 2 disastrous situations, which could have compromised the whole thing. Because one set gets admin lost and the whole group's screwed, right?
Yeah.
Because someone gets 3 wins that maybe they wouldn't have gotten, then everyone in the group's affected. It's tough. I think there's other ways in the future that it'll feel better for you. I can't give you specifics right now, but I think that part of that, Viper, is like the prize pool, for example. If the prize pool was much higher, I think it would probably feel more worth the chunk of time which it's taking up, as one example. I just don't know. The only thing we could do is fully overlap gold and plat, which would mean less coverage time and less weeks, but then gold doesn't get any exposure whatsoever, which I think is a negative, you know?
Mm-hmm. I think that's fine. Like for me, I would just I don't think any platinum players, you shouldn't do this for gold and silver because they have less on paper time on their hands.
Sure.
But like on gold, like a platinum, I would see no issues with us doing 2 rounds a week, for example, in the group stage, right?
You see, so like you say that, but like you're a full-time player.
Yeah, not
and
viable for
most of the feedback that I've heard on like the length has come from people who are like you and Hera, for example, which are course. And you obviously understand your size is, you don't want everything to be formed around you. But we have people who could only play like weekends or like with a weird time zone, and that gets really tricky, I think.
Yeah, but it would need in that case to also be more flexible for players to like play maybe 3 rounds a week, even if they are busy next week and not at the specific setup times, for example, right? I understand, obviously. I mean, I completely understand the other side of things as well, right? I'm only presenting my side, and I also understand for viewers, this setup is probably good where you have the fixed times and you always know when the matches will be on. It's probably great for viewers and probably for some of the players as well. The way it is now, just once a week is good because they also get time to prepare their matchups and whatnot. So, like I said, there's pros and cons to everything.
I could tell you that in previous seasons, we did what you said in some cases. We allowed a compromise because of people's schedules, and we had people play 3 rounds within like a week or so, and we received massive pushback and complaints from players saying it's not fair because they had more information when they played their sets. So they knew they knew the results from all the other sets and all that. And then we had to do a thing where, well, if certain sets are played as Rex, then do we have to inform people of results that weren't casted yet? It's kind of a whole can of worms. I think there's ways to improve in the overall, like how streamlined it is. And that's something we'll aim to do. And obviously I'll weigh the concerns from everybody, right? The people who aren't full-time and the people who are, and the people who create content and the people who don't. And I think there's quite a few things I've already had calls this week, 2 already, on terms of how I want to format it. And I think it'll be better next time.
Like I said, there's pros and cons to everything, and I think the way it is right now is also completely fine on paper.
Yeah.
So I haven't thought that deeply about this, certainly not as much as you have. So again, I'm just sort of taking on the role of a devil's advocate here. So what would you make of the idea of, during the group stage at least, when there's a ton of games, just relaxing the streaming rules a little bit, just let players stream whenever they want their POVs, and then for the playoffs, you enforce these kind of streaming rules that you had right now, there was no time slots.
If players wanted to stream their POV, they could. We had 9 streaming slots.
Right, so
we had 16, 18, 20 GMT on 3 separate days, and they could book a month in advance if they want for those slots.
Well, but you're still limiting. You're still limiting them to certain time slots. I mean, if a player wants to play, I don't know, 8 a.m. and the other guy is willing to do that, and then they want to stream their POV, would that be a possibility for the group stage?
If like every player in the group or a large percentage of the players in the group really had wanted to prioritize streaming, I would see the point. I think we have maybe 3 who would do it. Viper, Hera, most everyone else is not going to stream it in the first place.
Well, then what speaks against it?
What?
Well, then what's speaking against it? If you only need to accommodate like 3 guys.
Well, that's why I'm saying we have 9 total slots over 3 days. 16, 18, 20 GMT on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm saying that's a lot of flexibility for them to book on, right? Right?
Well, don't want to repeat myself, but what if they want to play on a Monday or on a Tuesday?
Well,
what if that's better for them?
Or the opponent.
Or the opponent does, yeah.
Sure. I mean, I just think it's weird. So the first season of TTL, it was horrible for me because we did full flexibility and I couldn't keep track of everything. We had sets overlapping. I'm then casting things that were already public. I have, even if it's just like 2 people bringing up the results in my chat, I've got to ban it. And that was on Facebook. I think it would be awfully unorganized and really difficult. And like I said, if it was like, if 12 out of the 24 players really wanted to stream, then I'd feel really bad about having only 9 or 12 available live slots. But I feel it's fairly accommodating compared to what it was in the first season.
I have no issues with the way it is currently.
Yeah. I think the biggest issue with streaming really is that people don't want to stream with the 2-minute delay.
Yep.
That seems to be the biggest thing, which is a Microsoft rule across the board. Which is very easy cop out for me because I could just say Microsoft, and I recognize that. But I would say that's the biggest issue. Like that's the pushback I've had is I'm gonna have to stream with 2 minutes, and then they don't want to do it. But that's, I think, separate than the booking, in my opinion.
Okay. So I'd like to talk maybe potentially a little bit about the map pool as well. Again, you're always going to get people who love the map pool. You're always going to get people who hate the map pool. In this case, I was surprised you didn't have any Arabia. Is that actually common for TTL? I mean, Arabia, an old schooler like you, not including Arabia.
We've never done the same map 2 times in a row. And we had Arabia in the previous season. So that was the logic there. So the idea was to have Arabia-like maps. I think the Acropolis experiment was something that's a little regrettable. I would have not had it. If I could go back, I would probably not have any fish on the lake, and then it'd maybe play out more similarly to Arabia in terms of openings. But yeah, the map pool was like to try and find different categories of maps, right? You have the closed maps, you have the hybrid, you have the standard land maps, and then little mesh and then a water map, which I think we had islands in the previous season, so we didn't bring that in, and I think some people were probably happy we didn't have that, so we had like shoals instead, for example. So yeah, that overall I thought the map pool was solid. It wasn't my favorite map pool ever, but it kind of covered the spectrum of maps that I was hoping for.
Orion, for you as a player?
Yeah, map pool was completely fine. For me, what I prefer more often than not these days are more variety in civilizations, right? And there was not admin bans or anything like that compared to what we had in other tournaments now. So there's a lot of repeating civilizations on the maps because the meta gets, in quotes, figured out, and there are certain openings on certain maps that are just better. Like Acropolis, like Jungle Swamp, right? The dock in the middle, fast fuel edge, play it for water a little bit. So Persians is like, if they are open, you're going to see them every game, right? But if you have these 10 random admin bans, then variety is kind of enforced. But at the same time, if you add random admin bans, it's harder for players to prepare specific strategies and so forth. So again, there's pros and cons to absolutely everything. But yeah, I think the map pool was completely fine. But it also with the the Civ picking system means that matchups you'll see the same Civs very much.
Sure. I think there's an in-between that we'll work towards in the future on that. You already explained it. Like, I'm heavily against people being able to prepare something and then on the day of, that just randomly banned out.
Yeah.
I've spoken to too many players who have had that, and then they just stop trying to prepare specific things. And then it's just a matter of pick an approach and adapt instead of anything specific. But at the same time, when there are so many games, it makes sense to have a bit more variety. So an idea I could pitch to you, Viper, which is an in-between. And this is on top of like maybe adding an extra global ban or something, which is easily doable. But I kind of like the idea of maybe doing something like we did in a previous event, I think a couple years ago, where the most played Civ in each round is then no longer available. Because then what it's not doing is it's not removing a Civ that, like, for example, the ACCM Masterpiece in Wandering Warriors Cup, where he picked Incas on one of the maps, and like that that was something he prepared because he knew it wouldn't be picked early and it wouldn't be banned. Those Civs are still fine, but what that would remove in like this season's case is like, okay, after the first round, Persians are just gone.
Yeah.
And then you get the week 5, it's like, okay, well, the Chinese got slipped through the draft enough and got played a lot. They're gone. Japanese are gone. And so it's not eliminating those like niche picks. It's eliminating the super solid, we know why they're good picks that maybe become dominant. I'm curious on a player's thought there.
I will do more than just one Civ in that case. But it's also like maybe some players are better with certain Civs, and suddenly like, okay, for that round, I'm facing a better player, and suddenly my best Civ is gone for that round. And it's like, oh, that was unlucky, you know? So again, you're always going to find problems no matter what. But just anything that makes the Civ picks and matchups a little bit more varied, I am heavily in favor of.
Okay.
Because I think Age of Empires is a really fun game. There's a lot of fun civilizations and a lot of different fun units to play with, right? So if you see the same thing over and over, I think that's less fun. So variation is important for me.
Another thought: what if the map pool was significantly bigger? We would still have the same.
I thought about it. Yep.
Well, like okay, so like we had 11 maps, I think.
11, yeah, I counted it.
So roughly speaking in terms of category, we have 2 Arabia style, 2 arena style, 2 hybrid style, 1 or 2 gold focus maps is typically what you do. I only had 1 with shoals. That was also kind of water. So it's usually like 2, maybe 3 per category. What if it was like 4 per category and you get up to like 17 maps in group stage? You have a lot of time to figure it out. There's a little bit less repetitiveness in terms of the draft potentially. And then, yeah, obviously all the maps have to be good.
Yeah, I mean, it depends where you want to take it, right? I mean, you have Warlords, for example, with the categories, right? We have, I think, 27 maps or 21 maps.
Do they really have 20 plus?
It used to be 7 categories with 3 maps in each category.
Maps each, yeah,
okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what it will be this time, but we'll get to that later.
It's not known yet. Yeah, it's not known yet.
But then you're suddenly entering that territory where it's like, okay, we're just repeating the Warlord system of we have categories and maps. Although in your system, I imagine you could play the same category multiple times. Or like you could play like...
Yeah, you don't draft by category.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, the bigger the map pool as well, there's still going to be maps. I mean, like we saw in this TTL, Ravines was not played very much at all, right? There will always be maps that are less preferred amongst the whole player, throughout the whole player group. So I think you might just end in a situation where it's like, okay, suddenly you have 3-4 maps that aren't played at all, right?
Yeah.
Which is fine. Isn't it fine?
Yeah, it is fine.
Yeah.
But it also adds like people are going to spend time preparing for those maps just in case, you know? And it's like, oh, I never played this map as well.
Really?
So part of me also thinks that smaller map pool is good for a league because then you also have the chance to like, okay, you can see everyone play the maps over and over again. So you can kind of start theorizing and planning how to counter that type of play style or what meta happens on that map throughout the league. So there are pros and cons to everything. Would you believe
everything? Which why you need to commit, Viper. You can't commit. You're that guy that never commits.
Fence sitter.
Yeah. True. That's it. Like Tristan, I'm not a player. Well, I do play. Not very well, but I do. My opinion, for the group stage at least, I think that would be a great idea to have an expanded map pool. Because then, even if you prepare, a certain Civ and then that Civ is banned, you can also get to prepare a map that nobody's playing. And then, of course, you can be unlucky and your save is banned, but you can prepare like 2 saves for a map and for a specific strategy. So you have like 2 variants that you can add to your repertoire of strategic gameplay, you know? So I think that would definitely be a good idea. And dude, I'm an old schooler, of course. I'm old enough to remember map pools of 30 maps. Map pools of 40 maps. And not saying we need to go back to that because, you know, 3/4 of those maps would be totally unbalanced, of course. But definitely, that's also one of the critiques that I've seen, Tristan, from the part of viewers, Redditors, Twitch chatters, which, you know, you can put as much stock into it as you want, but was that there was a lot of repetitiveness in the group stage in terms of strategies picked, saves picked, and maps picked as well. So that, I think, would alleviate things a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would go the right direction. The main thing that everyone needs to recognize that's kind of important to forget is there's no other tournament where you're going to see 15 games guaranteed from every single player. Like, you might see 15 games from Viper or Hera or Leary because they're going to go the distance, but you're not going to see 15 Dallas games. You're not going to see 15 Daniel games. You're not because the format, they're out maybe in the second round or third round or maybe first in some cases. So I think the repetitiveness will always be there, but I agree. The civilizations and the maps could reuse some tweaking to make it a bit better. And I already have some solid ideas on what we can do there.
Is random map bans crazy?
Random map, I think, yeah.
For this format, yes. For other tournaments, I'd love to see it.
Okay.
But then you need to have an expanded map pool, right?
Obviously, you're able to pick one map yourself, but like, let's say it's 5 games, one map
random
each.
Map
random
bans.
Well, as someone who's an underdog in the majority of sets he plays these days, right? I always feel like if I have any chance...
I wasn't sure you were talking about you or
I thought it was Doubt. Okay,
yeah.
Go on.
Okay, well, I mean, we haven't even discussed Doubt season yet, but like, I feel as though sometimes you're really banking on a map or two as a key, and I think if that gets banned out, you're going to be feeling really bad about it and not liking it as a player. So for TTL, I'm not a fan.
That's where I think you should always get to pick at least one map no matter what, right? And then like maybe, let's say it's the best of 7, right? You pick one map each first, and then it's like randomly chosen one map for each player, and then you can pick again. You know, just some craziness. But obviously, it's just maybe not for like the biggest tournaments.
You have the luxury of being able to manage that better than some other people, you know. So
I just want fun, man. I'm sorry.
Fun.
Sue me.
Tristan, a little quibble, or not really a quibble. I'm just wondering how you think about this. The scoring system in the group stage. Andy doesn't make it, despite having more victories than Viper in the group stage. And even more glaring, we have the case of Kingston. I think it was the Gold League last year. He has a series record of 4-1 and still finishes 4th.
Well, you said victories, which is incorrect. You said set. You should have said set wins with Andy.
Set
but
wins,
I know what you meant. I know what you meant.
Set victories.
Yeah, set victories. So I thought about this before the season, and so there were some instances. There was an instance which was actually considerably worse than that, than the examples you gave. It was.
It can't be worse than Kingston.
No. It was crazy. I'm gonna pull it up. It was season 2 of Gold. Lan went 5-0 in sets. Okay, he had 11 wins.
It doesn't qualify.
Vivi won. He was second place. Vivi had 12 wins and he went 4-1. The only set that he lost was a 2-1 to Lan. But Vivi like basically swept more, right? So Vivi gets automatic promotion. Lan has to go to playoffs with 11 wins. Lan goes to playoffs against Margugu, who had 7 wins and only got playoffs on tiebreak, and Lan loses to Margugu in the playoffs.
To be fair, if you lose to Margugu, you don't deserve to be. So let's be real.
It's punishment enough. Okay, so doesn't that give you?
So the thing is like there's obviously these edge cases, and then if you make a rule off the edge case, it could quickly snowball. And so I talked it out, and I was like, can we make exceptions if this, that, and the other? And guess what? The whole games per win thing just completely falls apart then because it snowballs away. So it is brutal, but it would, believe me, it's really hard to make like exceptions without it just no longer becoming a every win counts type of situation.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see why a player would be disappointed or frustrated with that. But funnily enough, I've never actually had a player gripe about that. It's always been a viewer or like, you know, a commenter.
Okay.
The players themselves are just always like, I had 15 chances to get wins and I get one more win, and you know that I controlled my fate. So that's good. If obviously I'm open to feedback from players, they can always come to me. Never really heard too much in that regard, but I could see how that would feel very bad to be Andy, for example.
Orion, you know exactly what case I'm thinking about. I'm not going to say anything. You know exactly what case I'm thinking about.
Could it be a Clash of the Titans?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I might have talked about this a couple of times, but I'm just going to remind viewers, to those who haven't listened to it yet. So we had the case of the Clash of the Titans. It ended with a round robin. I think it was between 6 players. I'm not even sure. And Jordan wins every single series. And Viper wins every single series except against Jordan. And Viper still finishes first. So again,
and it was that was game wins. I forget the specifics of it.
Yeah, like 1 point. And exactly.
It's the same as TTL.
Yeah, exactly as it works. So yeah. And in that case, it was to decide the whole tournament, which obviously feels even more bitter, you know. But yeah, I always have to think back to these. But again, I think it doesn't happen often enough, possibly in the case of Titans League, that it would warrant a big change like that. Then, Tristan, viewership. I think you hit 30K. Was it around 30K? That's what I saw on the spectator dashboard.
Would you believe me if I say I have no clue yet?
Well, why would I not believe you, bro? Why would I not believe you? That's the number that I saw, and I'm not even sure if it was during the final because it had Twitch front page, right? But again, alone the fact that you don't really even seem to know what the number is, does that mean you weren't really looking for a viewership high? You didn't really care? Of course, you're always going to care, but was there a number that you had in your mind that you wanted to reach? How do you think about this?
I mean, I did the first 3 seasons of this event on Facebook. And so that was, I had a Facebook bar, you know, and I used those 3 seasons to get a feel for what I felt was doable on YouTube, but I didn't know what would happen on Twitch. And then that was kind of the stepping stone for this season. And then the way I viewed this season was, let's have very low expectations. Let's just control what we can, have fun with it. And then maybe I can use this as a reference point for season 5, you know? So overall, I was very happy. The biggest thing actually for me was just how many people consistently showed up every day. That's the toughest thing. It's actually way harder to get 5,000 people to show up every day for a month than it is to get 10,000 viewers or 15,000 viewers, especially with the help of like an hour of Twitch front page on the finals, in my opinion. So I was very happy with it. The support from viewers was incredible as well, which certainly helped. But from the viewership support standpoint, I was blown away, and the views on YouTube were crazy. Like we had
your extras channel is getting a lot.
4 sets a day sometimes going up, and like every single set was getting at least 12 to 15K views with players who eventually got relegated, you know, not big names. That was great. Like, there were people who like are still commenting on some of those, like they're a week behind, but they're going through the whole thing. They're still right now. They're probably watching Doubt and Margugu have their relegation.
It's one of the most. It's one of the most seen ones because of MBL. Apparently, I didn't get to see it, but apparently it was a pretty epic cast there.
It was a bit of a brand risk. Let me say that.
I feel you. I've seen a couple of MBL casts to know exactly what you mean. So if I were to tell you, it was 30K peak.
Okay. Was that
said? I don't know if it was. If it were to be 30K, that satisfies you completely.
Yeah. I'm happy with it. I don't know if it's just because TTL is still kind of new for me. I don't know if it's because like I've had some mental changes this year in like terms of my approach with the whole streaming thing, whatever. But kind of like I said, like I think 2 years ago, I would have never on a Friday before, you know, the weekend of a big event been like, regardless of what happens, I'm happy. But I'm happy with it. I was satisfied with it the whole way through. So, cool. Yeah, I'm very happy with those numbers.
Cool. Orion, of course, it's still a long time for you until actually not that much a long time until the cartographers will start, which is your tournament. Do you have?
It's not my tournament anymore.
You serious?
because he can't play, right? He has I think it's T-West tournament now.
T-West has taken over the handle.
Wait. Okay, so for this season, that was known. I just
Nilly likes things to be strict. He's German.
Okay, so a player does not get to organize at the same time.
There is a red thread now through Microsoft in every tournament that players cannot participate in their own events. Like if they're hosting an event, hosts cannot participate in their own events.
Which makes sense, to be fair. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not going to be pulling some strings or anything like that.
Don't have that much power. And have you met Nilly?
Well, I have met Nilly, yes.
For me to be able to participate, I needed to. I mean, like I tried to pull strings in terms of getting the same funds because I think the Cartographers one was successful. So I was like, can we at least get the same funds even if I hand it over to someone else? Mm-hmm. And Nilly was accommodating in that aspect, and he allowed me to just simply pass it on to another host, and it will keep the same funds and keep the same spirit. So it's like, hopefully he will carry it on the way I intended the tournament to be. But officially now the tournament, I have nothing to do with it. I will have no say in settings, rules, or anything. I will simply show up and play.
It's still streamed on your channel?
No. Okay. I mean, like I will stream what I do. If I want to stream, I will stream on my channel, of course. But there's no official cast on my channel. T-West is the host. I have nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm. So I definitely still want to get to the other topics, but a couple of things still interest me about the Titans League, Tristan. First of all, why no YouTube stream? It did so well for you with the Hidden Cup. It had like 20,000 peak on YouTube for the Hidden Cup.
Because streaming on YouTube takes away from video views massively, in my experience. Okay. And so extras did really well last time. The videos do really well, and that's important to me. And so that in combination with me still not being fully sure if YouTube streaming is great consistently for channel health reasons, I was just kind of like, I don't want to dive into it. Okay. That's honestly, I was debating on doing it for the playoffs. That would make sense. Mm-hmm. But I just opted against it. I think it's something that I'll look to. There's certainly been lots of viewers that have mentioned it. And so I really don't want to let those people down. So I think I may do it in the future, but I guess I wasn't as overall, like, I didn't need to hit crazy viewership in my mind from the live streaming aspect. And I just wanted a healthy event, both in the video side and the uploads. So, or the streams.
And just for the record, you just said as well at the end of your last stream that 2 more seasons are absolutely confirmed. And apparently the next one's going to happen later in this year, towards the end of this year, if I'm not mistaken. That's what I heard you say.
Potentially. There will be info I don't have for you yet, where things will be slightly different than that. I think that will come soon. So
okay. All right, so Warlords 4, right after the conclusion of the Titans League, the next big S-tier tournament was announced, and it will be Warlords 4, a 1v1 tournament organized by MEMB, which this time comes with a $60,000 prize pool. The biggest ever for a Warlords tournament, though not for a MEMB tournament. So, Oregon, first thoughts on MEMB choosing Warlords as opposed to what possibly could have been his other option, I guess, King of the Desert here. I don't think Battle of Africa was ever in the cards, considering he already made the Nations Cup.
Well, I think Warlords at the moment is his best tournament. King of the Desert, I think, and also hope it doesn't return, because I think Arabia owned the tournament is not really something people want at the moment or anymore. He made the rounds during NEC as well. Like he talked to every player. I'm sure he asked casters as well, like what tournament they would like to see from him. And I think it was what's the word? Unanimously? No, how do you
unanimous?
Say
it? Yeah.
Unanimous. Yeah, that everyone suggested Warlords, right? So I think with that said, he didn't really have much of it. It would be weird if he came out with King of the Desert after that. So yeah, no, I'm happy for it. I think the tournament itself is great as well, with the category, the map systems. I think he's switching it up as well this time. There's going to be a group stage around Robin, which is pretty cool. That's something we haven't had in a while.
Yes.
Warlords has always been fun, and I'm looking forward to it.
Tristan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much with Viper just from the caster side. Arabia meta is fairly stale, or at least present day Arabia. I just think that mixed map is the way to go. You want to find the best competitors. You want to have the best games. It's just got to be a variety of different maps. in the past. The map pool is really solid, and so I think it'll be the same this time. I'm excited.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering what he's going to go for, and he said himself, he kept thinking what's best. I do, I mean, it's like you only want what you don't have, but I do miss a little bit King of the Desert right now. I wouldn't mind like an Arabia tournament again to see where are folks at with their mechanics, where are things at in terms of, fast-paced Age of Empires and all of that.
Just watch the ladder. That's all anyone plays anyways.
No, but the issue with Arabia only is, first of all, I mean, like it's the same map over and over, right? I would be fine if it's just like a 2-week tournament, right? Something quick, short, efficient.
True.
But like a long, drawn out King of the Desert.
That's very true. Yes.
Yeah.
That's very true.
And another thing with one map tournaments only is the timing of civ picks also comes into play. Like you draft 5-7 civs each, right? The timing of when you pick a civ, it can be so fortunate or unfortunate in that regard as well, because it's the same map. You cannot change anything about that. So if I pick Mayans when he picks another civ that counters Mayans, then well, tough luck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, next game, I picked the Britons, so well, he picked Vietnamese this time. Well, happens, right? So that's also there's another factor of luck or bad luck for that matter with Arabia only map and civ picks. So. Mm-hmm. I think mixed map is the way to go, and like I said, I'm fine with Arabia if it's just like one time.
That's a very fair
short,
point.
like 1 week, 2 week tournament, but tournament, no.
Very fair point. Does anyone remember how long the not Nations Cup was also SAX? What was the name of the tournament? It was the Arabia thing, but
Sax Arabia.
Sax. What was the name of the tournament? I forget. Sax.
Well, I think it was called Shenaxi Cup, but it was abbreviated.
Yeah, true. Shenaxi Cup. Yeah. Correct. Does anyone remember how long it was? Was it 3 weeks?
It was 2 weeks.
Yeah, perfect, man.
29th of June ended 14th July, so roughly 2 weeks.
So that's why it felt like it was such a good tournament. Hey, you guys remember all the upsets and all the crazy results, which of course was combined with a lot of folks preparing for Red Bull at the time, but still.
Baby.
Baby.
I'm looking for you on this bracket right now, Viper.
Yeah, just go back a little bit. You find me a couple of scrolls back.
I see. Okay.
I played that set the same day, like while Debbie was giving birth.
Oh,
really?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, there you might actually have a proper baby excuse.
Yeah, no, like I had to go to the house to pick up some stuff for the stay at the hospital, right? Mm-hmm. And Debbie was like, she started to feel. Mm-hmm. I don't want to like give a whole birth story now, but she knew things were coming, and but they were predicting it would take a little bit longer. So she was like, just play the games and see what happens, right? And come back when you're done. And then the game suddenly took like 3-4 hours to finish. And when I got there, like it was going faster than we anticipated. So that was probably the hardest set I've ever played in my life.
Yeah.
And I think it was really cool that Mihai got like kind of a breakthrough performance there.
True. I remember now. Yeah,
since then, Mihai has also played very good Age of Empires. So it's cool.
You boosted his confidence.
Yeah,
hope so.
There you go. Yeah. Okay, so here are some of the details about the tournament. So we will have 3 qualifiers, and that means the whole qualification stage will go for the 21st of April until the 11th of May. Then we have like a week pause, and then the main event is going to be from the 18th May to the 1st of June. We have 4 invited players. I'm going to widely speculate here that's going to be Viper, Hera, Leary, potentially Mr. Yo, Tato.
Based on what? Like what would they invite based on?
Based on who brings the most view. No, I don't know. Just speculating. Yeah, those 3 guys I'm pretty sure would be there. Then so we have a 16-player main event with 4 groups of 4, as you just said, so a round robin. And that's going to go into a round of 8, I suppose, a single elimination bracket. None of this is very, very set in stone, I believe. So first thing that comes to mind immediately, Orient, 6 weeks long. With a week, it's a 6-week long tournament. So, how do you feel about that?
The difference here is going to be mainly that the price towards the top is a bit more top heavy.
Sorry, and for you, it's obviously not going to be 6 weeks because I assume you're going to be invited. You're not going to be playing the qualifiers.
I have not been invited yet, so if I am, then it has not happened yet.
Man, hurry up!
wait, so how long is main event?
Main event's 2 weeks from the 18th of May. Yeah, for
a main event, that's like completely fine.
So it's 4 weeks of qualifier, 2 weeks main event?
No, it's 3 weeks qualifier, then there's a week pause, and then 2 weeks main event.
Interesting, okay.
That adds up to 6 if I didn't mess up.
I think with qualifiers, you need some time though, right? Because there's potentially a lot of players and there's a long bracket to get through potentially. So I think that makes sense. But yeah, 2 weeks for a main event, I think is a nice little, I assume it's going to be like every day then.
It has to be. I'm even wondering how is he going to make it, because it's going to be four. So it's 4 groups of 4 into a round of 8. So I assume the whole round robin needs to take 1 week only, because it's going to need another week for the round of 8, or maybe less than a week for the. Again, these things are going to be public at some point.
I'm sure they have a plan.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they thought about this.
Yeah, no, it's a good spot, right? You just intensify and prepare for those 2 weeks, and then you just go all out within those 2 weeks. I think that's a nice sweet spot for a main event of a tournament like this.
Mm-hmm. Tristan, so last Warlords, if I'm not mistaken, the whole thing was a single elimination bracket 1 week, I believe, with 16 players. How do you feel about this? 1 week main event, single elimination, or something like this, 2 weeks with a round robin before. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, to be a fence sitter here, there's pros and cons to both.
But we're gonna be
I'm gonna be Viper now.
He's gonna impersonate Viper.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to both. I mean, my first thought as an organizer myself is trying to do the main event in 1 week means you have a lot of sets on weekdays and you have varying time zones, and I wonder if there could possibly be some complications there. Just looking at the list of players from last time, I got a bit of anxiety. I was just like, yeah. So I wonder if maybe they had some experiences last time and thought that maybe expanding that more would be better. I think there's pros and cons to both. Like, I actually think that like straight up knockout is like pretty epic, because it's like you don't have time to mess around. You show up or you're gone, right? And I think there's value to that. So I personally like that. I also like 3 qualifiers, because I think that could lead to less heartbreak for certain names who may become very close every time. I do wonder how that works with prize pool though. Like if you play all 3 qualifiers and you lose the decider in all 3, are they getting something? Are they not? I'm curious.
I'm pretty sure those things are going to be considered. By the way, 12 players qualify, which I think it's very good. Giving so many people the opportunity to make the tournament. Only 4 invited. Was surprised by that. So that's cool to see.
That's cool.
Like, I wonder with the group stage, like if everything has to be live as well, right? Because normally he's wanted us to have webcams on while we're playing and such.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to have webcams, yeah.
Yeah, but the question is if they want to. Yeah, then it could be difficult with time zones and if they want every day to have activity. But then again, it might be difficult actually. But yeah, I mean, not my problem to solve. So.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Again, I'm pretty sure they thought about it. And again, Mem's an incredibly experienced tournament organizer. It's not his first rodeo, so I'm pretty sure he knows what he's doing. So one thing that I'm very curious about, and I don't know how much you guys know about it or how much you guys can talk about it, but Mem used to organize 2 tournaments a year, totaling roughly $100,000. And we're talking about fiscal years here. So in his case, it used to be either King of the Desert, or it used to be a lot of times King of the Desert and Warlords. Then last year, I believe, or last fiscal year again, I believe he made 2 Warlords. In this case, and he said that's because he didn't get more money, he's only going to organize 1 Microsoft-sponsored tournament. Does anyone know why? Has there been a change in the way that Microsoft awards funds ever since Nili is there? Does anyone know anything that they can share? Does anyone want to speculate, Tristan?
I mean, I could speculate. I mean, the amount can be different every single year. Not just for the creator, but for how much Microsoft gives. So maybe that changed. I'm not too sure. I could tell you, just speculating, right?
Okay.
That there's potentially just going to be more things happening. Like look at the calendar right now. Okay, we have a Warlords qualifier overlapping with TTL into a main event. We had Rage Arena. We have all these things. Like we have never been at a point where there's more overlapping ever. And so I would guess that means that maybe this will become more of a 1 big event per year for the big creators, because there might be more entering the scene. So I think that could be it. The Garrison's a nice example.
Right.
I fly out to the Garrison like 5 or 6 days. And so I wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, it'd be quite nice to have more people enter the scene, and maybe that's part of it.
Orion?
I mean, I think I approached Nili like October last year, like about the cartographers. And he said, well, the first slot, July. I'm like, okay.
Because everything else was booked out.
Okay. So it's like, okay. So yeah, I think it's somewhat of what T90 is saying. Like, first of all, Microsoft obviously could different amounts every year. You never know what's going to happen. But yeah, the calendar is full. There's so much interest in hosting tournaments, and I think we have a really nice variety and split now in terms of A-tier, S-tier tournaments and activity all the time. So yeah, I mean, I don't mind that. Also, like that we don't have like two. If we don't pack in 2 Warlords and 2 TTLs, 2 this, 2 that all the time every year, you don't get a lot of breaks in between to get excited for the next one again. So I think it's also healthy to have like once a year. Like, so then you have more of the Grand Slams, right? It would be weird to have a Champions League final twice a year in football, for example. So I like that it's maybe once a year is a good thing.
One thing, obviously, again, I have zero information. I can't tell if you guys actually do have information or just pretending you don't. But if I have zero, and so as an outsider looking in, of course, my what I'm afraid of here is that this means that Microsoft is potentially disappointed with the viewership last year, which would be hard for me to understand because last year was crazy in terms of viewership. Again, I want to remind folks, Red Bull El Reinado, crazy record. Tristan came very, very close to a Hidden Cup 4 record, if I'm not mistaken, right? So you were very, very close to it with your last hit. I forget, was last Hidden Cup 5? It was 5, wasn't it?
Yes.
So you came very close to Hidden Cup 4. So that's the fear for someone from the outside looking in. So I hope, go ahead.
But look at it, take everything else out of the equation. Warlords 4 has $60,000 from Microsoft. Warlords 3, I don't know how much it had from Microsoft, but the total price pool was over $50,000 in the end. I think that's like
50,
with the subscriptions 50. And such. So I think that maybe 40,000 was from Microsoft initially. But Warlords is still having a higher price pool. Of course, you could speculate that, okay, maybe Memb is getting less, maybe Microsoft is giving less, but that doesn't matter. Warlords has a higher price pool. It's a bump in my eyes.
Yeah, what I hope is happening is exactly, and that's what I thought about. It's exactly what you guys said. More tournament organizers wanting to organize tournaments, and that's good. That's obviously amazing. And in the case of Garrison, I think this, this is their first tournament, and they're getting
Gamer Legion. It's like
Gamer Legion. Well, Gamer Legion was in theory that I don't know. I don't even know. Was can we say it was Order of the Sheep Gamer Legion? Nobody knows.
No, it's sure. Gamer Legion.
It was Gamer Legion. Okay, so you said it. Yeah, so that's great. Obviously, more tournament organizers, more variety, all of that. Okay, then before the Warlords arrived, though, don't forget you'll still have a great LAN tournament to look forward to. The before-mentioned Garrison, which will be live from Hamburg. The event starts on March 13th, and that's pretty much 1 week from the time this episode has been published, and the final will be on March 16th. In case you missed the memo, I'll be there too, hosting another Kings and Plebeians quiz show live on stage on the last day of the tournament. So if you enjoy our quizzes, you can look forward to that one. Orion, I'm not even sure. It's the tournament. Is it? It's going to be double elimination. Is it 9 villagers start? I'm not even sure. Okay,
9 villagers double elimination. Yeah, it's been a long time since we had a simple double elimination bracket, so I'm actually looking forward to it. Brackets are out, by the way.
You're going to be against Hearts. Yeah. So how's the preparation going?
I mean, I haven't trained since I knew it was against Heart. That's still pretty fresh. But no, I mean, I was hoping for either Heart or Kingston from the ones I could get. So actually, I could have gotten Yo as well. Never mind. I just didn't want Tato. So I can't complain. Just gotta train and prepare, and hopefully it will go well.
Viper, can I give you a bit of advice? Sorry to jump in here.
Feel free.
Make sure you go through the winner's bracket final, because the loser's bracket final and the grand final is on the same day.
Is that like a kryptonite for you, or why?
No, I actually think at the LAN event, 2 best of 7s, there's going to be a solid break in between where this guy here is going to do some stuff. So I think if
Tristan, you want to do it again? I promise there's not going to be Müller. There's not going to be Müller grocery items. I promise.
I'm not opposed, but ideal world, I'm actually part of the plans. I don't have to cast 40 minutes afterwards, and that I'm not the last minute replacement for Dell.
Listen, you know what I want to make. You know what I want to see. I want to see players against casters. Let's say Hera and Viper. It's never going to happen, of course, against Tristan and Dave. The most epic quiz in the world. That's a wet dream, I guess, but good to know you're not opposed to it. By the way, I apologize about the Mueller grocery. It was not my idea. I did not want to make it happen. It was forced on me. But so tell me about your expectations for the tournament, Tristan. What are you looking forward to?
I'm hearing a lot of epic things about the venue. I've seen photos of the other Experion venues that they have, but this is supposed to be their biggest location yet. So it's like a step up from everything that I've already seen photos of and heard about. At least that's what I'm being told. I mean, I think the tickets are almost completely sold out, so we'll have a lot of fans there, which is always great, a great part of this. I mean, so far my experiences have been nothing but positive with the organizer and whatnot. So I don't really know what I'm stepping into exactly, but I think it'll be a fun event. And I know that we've had lots of LAN events that are very long and intense and, 12-hour days and there for 8 or 9 days. And there's reasons for that. And it may feel like it's worth the trip and all that. I'm kind of looking forward to a relatively short, exciting, like fairly brutal format. I think it's
fairly brutal.
I mean, double elim is why I say fairly brutal. So people don't have to get on a plane, play one set, and be done. But even still, it's like I think it'll be fun. Sometimes it's good to not have to like dance around, for 5 or 6 days to find out who goes to playoffs, and you just kind of know this is what it is.
You obviously talk a lot to players, and I don't know if you've had a talk with Kingston, but Kingston seems to me like he's going to be like the wild card in this tournament.
Yep.
How well do you expect him to perform? I mean, huge surprise that he's there to begin with.
I really don't know. I mean, for those that didn't hear the story of Kingston, like Kingston was going to give an admin win to Sebastian in the qualifier because he was going to go out with his friends. And his parents were like, no, you should try. And then he won. So like, I mean, that's pretty wild. He's up against Leary first thing. I hope he takes the opportunity. Kingston's it's not his first LAN event. He also qualified for a Red Bull in the past. So it shows he has a fairly high ceiling, but I think consistency is tough. But anytime someone's fresh to LAN events, I always feel like the first time you make it, that's like, there's this weird mental thing where usually those players are just like, I accomplished my dream. And then they go and they get smacked, right?
Jordan comes to mind in the final of one of the Hidden Cups, was right after he came back, right? He makes it to the final against Hera. Yeah. He's so happy. And the final starts at like, what was it, Orion? 10 p.m. for us?
It was quite late for Jordy, who goes to bed at 9.
Yeah, so that comes to mind. But he was so happy he made it. I don't care about the result anymore.
Yeah, and like, I mean, those vibes are around these lands too. Like you clearly have a feel of the difference between someone who's just happy to be there and someone who wants to win it all. But then the second time they make it to another one, then that thinking shifts.
They want more.
They're
more.
Like, okay, I was here last time and I was just happy to be here, and now I want to get more results. So I hope that that's the case for Kingston. And we'll see. I expect it to be a fun storyline.
I think that the mental issue there is that how long ago was Red Bull where he qualified? Like if you have years. Consecutive, like it happens every couple of months, I would agree with that mindset. But now it's like, okay, 4 years ago I qualified for a LAN event. Now I finally did it again, right? I don't think he's now suddenly entering, okay, shoulders down, like now I'm going to show what I'm all about, right? I think he's going to be super excited and happy to be there. But as you said, he's the wild card right now. I think 99% of people would predict him to end up 7th to 8th. Yep. But you never know. I mean, if you can beat Sebastian in a qualifier, then there's definitely potential there.
What else can you do? That's true. The map pool, as far as I could see, it's roughly like NAC maps, right? So a lot of maps that have been on NAC, so I don't think anything notable to talk about there.
They had a goal to not clash with any TTL maps, right? To have, I think there's
that was somewhat coordinated.
Yeah. So it's good variation.
Yeah, variation. Yeah, against 11 maps, if I'm not mistaken. Arabia is there. Okay, boys, last but not least, Valhalla 2. We already introduced the tournament last episode. $10,000 prize pool organized by John Slow and Ornlu. There's a few notable names missing from this tournament, but not my dear co-host, who just yesterday beat Target in the round of 32, and will now be facing Lewis in the round of 16. And if you lose to Lewis, bro, you'll never hear the end of it.
I'm not coming back on the show. I tell you that.
You're not coming back on the show.
It actually was
talk a little bit about it. You enjoyed the tournament. How's it been so far?
There was a spoiler alert. There was a big upset today, actually. Antagonist beat Tato 3-1.
What?
So Tato is out in round of 16.
Wow.
That is definitely
he's out in the round of. He's out in the round of 32.
Round of 32. Yeah, even worse. No, I think the maps are. It's like I played a map yesterday. I had checked all the maps in single player, right? But when I started the game, suddenly it was Regicide. I had no idea it was Regicide when we played. Like, obviously, I should do a better job there. But the maps are cool. Actually, I think a lot of them look quite fun. But there's everything starts walled. So there are some maps that will be a little bit repetitive in terms of styles and civ picks and such. But overall, honestly, it looks like it's shaping up to be a really fun tournament and a lot of variety.
Yeah, I mean, Tato does not need to fear Doubt because Tato is way too nice. Doubt is not going to be making fun of him, I think.
Oh, he will.
He will still.
Doubt could be in Silver League. He's still going to have goes at us. He doesn't care.
Yeah, Tristan, talk about the tournament. Thoughts on the whole thing so far?
I mean, Lewis is going to be prepped, bro. And let me just say, your build in that game where you lost your king was just abysmal, man.
Like, I didn't know it was ready, so when I started, I had to okay, what's happening here?
You also probably didn't know the trees in the outer ring had 200 wood instead of 100.
I did not.
You probably also didn't know there was no stone in the middle until it was too late.
I learned that the hard way.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, listen, I even played some sets with some of these guys, and I don't know. God knows, like Lewis plays all the time. People are prepped, man. What's fun about this tournament is the map. It's a small enough prize pool where the big names will not prepare early. And it's big enough prize pool where the lesser names are going to feel like they can take them. And so Antagonist, I have no doubt, was maybe training with like Vinch and Wide and some of these guys. And I didn't see the games, but I'm sure he's pretty prepped. So I think it's great. The last Valhalla had a lot of upsets. There's just crazy games. And some people like Arabia style players might be like, oh, it's clowny. It's not really, actually. There can be a monk rush or two, but it's actually more diverse than that too. So I think it gets a little bit of a bad rep to just be like thinking it's going to be a bunch of monks,
Dude, bad rep is it's a matter of perspective. Something like that.
I just want to say that I'm actually underdog against Lewis because he beat Dark and Dark beat me. So on paper, Lewis is favored. I just want to put that out there. So I hope I can put on a good show. And if I make an upset happen, then I'll be very happy.
Already preparing. You want to make sure that he doesn't make a tweet out of it. But Lewis, he's not going to bite.
Do you think Doubt beats Lucho?
Ooh. Yeah. I mean,
Doubt, he does?
Actually,
aren't these maps actually good for Doubt? Adaptation, craziness.
And arguably bad for Lucho because Lucho is more of a standard map player.
But then Doubt also kind of sucks.
Oh, wow.
I mean, Lucho did he get promoted to Platinum?
Mm-hmm.
He did.
Doubt is still a Gold League, so I mean, Lucho's favorite.
We know who the favorite is, yeah.
True.
It should be fun. It should be fun.
Yeah, I think so too. A-tier tournament, but $10,000 prize pool, I believe. Is it the first time they're getting sponsored by Microsoft? If not, I think it's the biggest prize pool they've ever had, right? I mean, John Slow, this is not his second tournament, but still.
I believe they got sponsored before.
No, the first one was just his community.
Oh,
yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought. So worth checking out for sure. Boys, this was so much fun as always. Tristan, always a treat to have you here, hearing your insights, the way you think about the game and all of that was awesome as well. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yep, thank you.
All right, everybody, if you enjoyed the video, you know what you have to do. Like, comment, subscribe, all of those things. And the next episode will possibly be recorded live from the Garrison. We're not entirely sure, but be on the lookout.
Ambitious.
Ambitious. See you, everybody. Thanks for coming.